So I got on Facebook this morning and I saw this story and I was like, there's no fucking way. It says a black man will spend 6 years in Georgia prison despite jury finding him not guilty. As I was reading through this story, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's still going to prison even though he was found not guilty. It says Georgia judge overrules jury to incarcerate Ramad Chatman in unusual legal case. And the jury found him not guilty, yet the judge still wanted him to go to prison. A black man who was found not guilty of armed robbery will still serve up to 7 years behind bars after a judge ruled he had breached the rules of his probation sentence for another crime. Ramad Chatman handed himself in to police when he found out he was a suspect for an armed robbery at a convenience store in his hometown of Georgia in July 2014. So he turned himself in because he, thought he was a suspect. But I mean, he turned himself in so that he would, I guess be exonerated, to let them know that he didn't do it, which come to find out later, he did not do it. He turned himself in because he knew he was not guilty. His grandmother, Janice Chatman, told U.S. News Channel 11 Alive. The 24-year-old was already serving a 5-year probation term, a court order served outside prison through fines and community service, for his first ever offense, breaking and entering an apartment to steal a television worth $120 in 2012. He was identified as a suspect for the armed robbery in the winter of 2014 after a shop assistant spotted his picture on Facebook. She identified him again when police showed her his driving license picture. Why it took police so long to catch up with Chatman is unclear, but after hearing officers were looking for him, he turned himself in November 2015. The following February, a judge decided it was likely he did commit the robbery, and as a result, Chatman was resentenced for the original crime of stealing a TV in order to serve 10 years behind bars, backdated to the day of the crime. And isn't that double jeopardy where you're charged again for the same crime? Like, how can you add on a sentence to a crime that he was already serving probation for, but then give him jail time because he supposedly committed a crime? He supposedly robbed a store. Court documents nonetheless show he did everything asked of him during his probation, including checking in, paying restitution, and finishing his community service. He was also holding down a job. So this man was getting his life together. He wasn't doing anything that he should not have been doing, yet you still want to put him in prison because you couldn't put him in prison the first time. That's what's fucked up. Because he's a black man, you still want to put him in prison, though he has done nothing wrong. It later emerged that ahead of the trial, Chatman tried to enter an Alford plea on the charge of aggravated assault in exchange for the armed robbery charges being dropped. An Alford plea means the defendant enters a guilty plea but maintains his innocence. It is often used when the defendant feels like despite his innocence he will lose at trial. And honestly, I think like in any case when it comes to the person being a black person, that, just because you're black, you're automatically guilty. Like, you don't even have to have a trial. You don't have to have a jury. You don't need to go to court. Because you're black, you're automatically guilty. The judge refused to accept the deal, so the case was heard before a jury who ruled he was innocent of the crime. Presiding Judge John Niedrich disagreed with their verdict, however. So despite the fact police never recovered the weapon, stolen money, or any other evidence connecting him to the robbery, he declined to release Mr. Chatman, who remains in prison for violating the terms of his first probation order. How did he violate the terms? You have no evidence against this man, yet he's still going to serve 6 to 7 years in prison. So that's going to be unfortunate for him because he's not going to be able to get a job. He had a job. He was being a model citizen. He was doing nothing wrong, but you just want to go and fuck up his life because he's a black man. It's like one of those cases where they just want to open and close the case as soon as possible. So just put him in jail, and that's it. Like the whole, this is like, him being like Emmett Till. I want to relate it to that. This white woman lied and said that he, whistled at her, was trying to holler at her, and they beat him and killed him. Now they're trying to make this man liable for something that he didn't do, but still suffer the consequences. Mr. Chatman's grandmother told 11 Alive he had worked hard to meet the terms of his court order, including paying his mandated fines on time. He made sure he did right on his probation. He never violated it. What Judge Niederich has done to my grandson is an injustice. When my grandson was proven not guilty, he should have been let out. In 2016, 38% of U.S. prison inmates were black, despite only comprising 13% of the general population. 1 in 6 black men had been incarcerated in a U.S. prison as of 2001. If current trends continue, 1 in 3 black males born today can expect to spend time in prison during his lifetime, according to the NAACP. And this is, spending prison for something that they didn't do. Because he's going to prison for something he didn't do. This judge, I feel, had it out for him. This man has, like I said, he got his life together. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing to stay out of trouble. And yet he's still going to prison for something that he did not fucking do. This judge wanted to add 10 years, a 10-year prison sentence for his first offense, the only offense he ever had. And the reason he got probation for that was because it was his first offense. He hadn't done anything up until that point. But since, he's black and he just should be in jail, that's how all white judges feel. That's how all white people feel. That black men should just be in jail. They should not be on the streets. They should not be with the rest of civilization because they are a threat. How? How? So you want to put him in prison for what reason? And I think that's the thing that pisses me off, because a lot of times with these black men, you don't find anything against them. This just goes to show no matter what you do in life, you can still go to prison. Let me know what you think in the comments below.